Yeah, second row. Do we have any consent? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, good. All right, so what we're going to do here is start this meeting right now, and we're going to take up the item, which is item number 4.
Item number 4 is the Labange Rosendahl motion relative to the installation of speed humps and solar-powered speed feedback signs on Electra Avenue between Mount Olympus Drive and Hercules Drive in the Mount Olympus area.
And we have one public comment card, 2 covered. Stephen Rosen, and Mel Rumba. Coming. Okay, well, you can take the seat, please, if you fill the card out. Yeah. Mr. Rumba? And if I could ask that the sound man record Mr. Rumba. He has the best voice in Los Angeles. Thank you very much. Stephen, you want to go first?
Sure. Am I on?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay. Well, we're here today regarding the traffic issue in Mount Olympus, the whole area. And the issue being, I guess, addressed are the speed bumps or speed humps, and the traffic signs that monitor speed. I've been living in the Mount Olympus area now for about 5 years, and each year I personally and other members of the community are noticing the escalation in traffic speeding. It's become a very, very, very acute problem. Unfortunately, many people are discovering that there is a bypass through Mount Olympus Drive that bypasses a section of Laurel Canyon when it's very busy during the peak traffic times between 4 and 7. We are noticing the increase in traffic flow, and unfortunately, many people find it desirable to speed up Mount Olympus Drive. We have wide streets, and I personally witness people speeding at enormous speeds. Matter of fact, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but am I done?
Keep going, yeah.
Okay. One of the issues is people are ignoring the traffic stop sign at Mount Olympus Drive and Electra. They come around the corner at excessive speed and go up Electra at enormous rates, and they speed all the way up to Hercules. So we're trying to find a solution to impede the progress of these high speeders, and we do believe speed bumps will take care of that issue. So I'm very much in favor of our community supporting and paying for the installation of the speed humps and the signs.
Mel Rumba, please. Thank you, Stephen.
Sure.
Yes, just to tie a few loose ends, Mount Olympus has been blessed by wide, inviting streets, 22 to 27 feet wide, which invites speeding and invites traffic violations. We've done what we can to mitigate this, and LAPD West Traffic has been as supportive as they can. But the resources of the Department of Transportation tell us they cannot assist us with speed humps, nor any traffic feedback signs, or any other mitigating factors. Our community is willing to fund anything according to DOT guidelines and through whatever necessary formalities are required in order to implement mitigation factors in Mount Olympus, specifically starting with the speed humps and feedback signs on Electra Drive. This is important because it may be a precedent. We are willing to assess ourselves, tax ourselves, in order to improve the safety of our community. And this is not a question of elitism. It's a question of we are willing to release city sources of the DOT to other underprivileged areas because we can fund our own needs for the city. We ask you to support this and similar motions.
Thank you, Mel.
I really appreciate what you just said. That public-private partnership is the way we need to go as we deal with the crisis we're in. So the willingness of you to step up to the plate and do it is a no-brainer for me. I hope DOT understands that and can agree with us on it. We'll see what they say, but I agree with you.
It's a win-win for all of us.
Let me introduce the chair of the committee, Mr. Bill Rosendahl, who's going to take over from now. You have a few additional cards.
Yeah, Tom, were these two done?
Yeah, they're done.
Gentlemen, I'm sorry, I wasn't given one because we had to sit down, but Jerry Lynette.
Have you filled out a card, Jerry?
No, George has.
All right, fill out a card.
Fill it out while you're speaking. But George, did you fill?
Basically, I second the motion, what Steve and Mel is saying. We're all neighbors,
Right.
and I'm in the first house there next to Steve, where cars are basically going about 70 to 80 miles an hour I'm in front of the house, and people are screeching, flying. So it's got to the point where if we don't put any speed bumps or humps, whatever you want to call them, there's just going to be dead people. It just, I've witnessed...
and I don't know if Mr. Labange asked this one or not, have you checked with all your neighbors about where they'll position those humps or
We've
bumps?
gone over it.
Do they realize that if it's in front of their house, they might realize a month later that there's a noise that they didn't think of?
Well,
Are they all aware of its impact?
The thing is,
on
it
them?
could go in between two houses, right before the bottom, just enough to slow people down. Because basically, I have a 5-year-old daughter, and one of her best friends lives a few houses up the street. We can't walk on the sidewalk without being guarded. Cars are coming up there, hitting curbs. It's crazy.
Let me ask Mr. Labange this. Has DOT gone there and looked at this?
Oh, they certainly have, and we're going to hear from DOT in a minute.
Great.
But,
Yeah, and basically, we've been asking for years, and they always say the same thing, that the grade is there's too much of a slope and a grade to have any speed bumps.
Okay,
But
we'll hear what they have to say, but I like where you're coming from. Thank you. Please.
Hello, gentlemen. My name is Jerry Lynette. George and I are neighbors. We're most affected by this problem because people come up Mount Olympus and run the stop sign at 75. Okay, my time is clear.
Go for it.
We're next door and we're right on the corner. We're the first two houses. The kids drive up at 75 miles an hour, run through the stop sign screeching. We can't take our kids out on the street. You get run over all the time. I mean, I've been hit 3 times. My wife has been hit twice. He has been in accidents twice because they try to get around us while we try to go into our driveways, and they smash into us. My wife, the last time she was hit was the day before she had to give birth to my daughter. Okay, 6 years ago. So this has been an ongoing problem. We know who those kids are. They're 16, 17-year-old little punks who drive their father's $50,000, $100,000 cars, and we've talked to the parents. It doesn't help. I've been in fist fights over this. I've been to the city attorney's office for I was sued for punching a guy out, for breaking a guy's wrist. Every time it was dismissed. This is a continuous problem. We have to do something about it, and we need your help to do it, because this will not stop until bloodshed goes down.
But I appreciate you saying that.
did Dan get to speak? Dan did get to speak. Did anyone else get to speak from Mount Olympus? Did everybody get to speak? So we have completed the public comments then. That being said, members of the committee, as councilman of this district here, I'd like to call on John Fisher here, because Mr. Fisher is our senior traffic engineer, and if you could vacate your seats for the traffic engineer. Mr. Fisher, this is a community that's come forth. And Mr. Rumba, stay there because you're president of the association, correct, Mr. Rumba?
I am.
Yeah, so sit up there too, because you're, as Mr. Rosendahl, that public-private partnership. This is a housing tract that was built in the 60s, and it went by city requirements. What it has created is a raceway de facto. Also, as I told Mr. Koretz, because of the challenges of Mulholland Drive and the closure of Mulholland Drive, there's more traffic naturally coming right there, but this problem predates that. Mr. Fisher, you're resourceful. I want to see some result here out of this meeting. They want to come forth and be able to try to create a pattern for their neighborhood. And Pauline Chan is one of the best employees who came up with the whole traffic calming matter, which I'm sure you approved. How could we say to the people of Mount Olympus who will pay for this, they can meet their goal?
Thank you, Chairman Rosendahl and Councilman Labange and members of the Transportation Committee, John Fisher, Assistant General Manager. First of all, we're pleased to hear directly from the residents of the Electra Drive community in Mount Olympus to hear what they experience. We depend on them to be the eyes and ears. We can't be everywhere at once, and sometimes we don't know all the traffic situations that are going on, so we do appreciate hearing from them. As you may know, the department's speed hump program was discontinued in the current budget, and that's why we're pleased to hear that they're willing to provide the funding if we can find it to be feasible. Now, on some mountain roads where you have steep slopes or you have sharp curves or narrow roadways, there are cases where speed humps would not be feasible. But what we'd like to do is to survey the street and see if we can find locations where they do meet all the traditional geometric criteria and put them in the appropriate, to identify the appropriate spaces where they might go and report back to you.
What are you doing tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning?
Yeah.
Available.
We have staff that's available as well.
Okay,
to
so
go
let's
with.
try to get out there, and if we could lead us on the...
But we will have to conduct a little
Excuse me, sir? Sir? Okay. What we need to do, and it has been reviewed before, but need to review it, what we have is a partnership coming up here.
Right.
And members, this is a question we have to ask ourselves. In this time of challenges, if the community step up, we should say no?
It's a no-brainer.
We should say yes, because they want to create it. Now, also, whether they're bumps, humps, or if you could narrow the roadway with what I would call Brian Gallagher candlesticks, or whatever you call them, whatever they are, something to narrow the road, because what we did is we required them to have modern engineering. This is not your traditional Hollywood Hills street that is narrow, that you absolutely have to pay attention to it. This is wider than some parts of Laurel Canyon Boulevard, and that is the impact. So, John, if we could arrange that, Mel, so we could go up there and try to turn something around. If I ask us to keep it in committee for 2 weeks and then come back, and then we get some answer, because they've waited too long, and that's why we put a motion in this.
Okay. And so we'd like to identify locations where they would be feasible for you. The second thing regarding the speed feedback signs, we would also like to take a close look at that. Speed feedback signs...
They want to pay for it, John.
No, I understand. There's
So
no
just say
problem.
yes.
I'm saying yes, but...
No. Wait a second, sir.
But let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish.
People in the back.
Uh,
Can't talk like that, okay?
We want to make sure that, your motion said solar-powered, okay? We want to make sure that we find a location that has sunlight coming into it and is not blocked by trees. So
Trees or the
now,
hillside.
if we also have regular street lighting there, we could put a permanent speed feedback sign that wouldn't be solar-powered, because solar-powered ones operate only a few hours of the day.
Whatever you wish, sir.
And so we want to make sure we find the most appropriate device for Electra Drive. The other thing we need to do to report back to you is we need to get a cost estimate of what it would cost, and then draft the language for you so that the monies could be transferred to the appropriate account to make it happen. So we need to prepare those documents. We would like to report back to this committee on that.
Super. And do you think someone's available in the next 48? We could go up there and look at it? When I see either tomorrow, which is Thursday or Friday, I know you have some days that
We'll make
people are off.
someone available to go.
Okay, to look at it. Thank you very much, Mr. Fisher. Can I turn it back to the chair of the committee? Thank you for this allowance.
God bless you, Tommy. Let me just ask 3 questions for the record. Does the city attorney have any issues with this motion?
No.
Great. Second question, has the city previously implemented street safety measures with private funding?
Yes, we've implemented speed humps with private funding before. That was approved by the city council.
Very good. Does the department have sufficient resources to undertake this work and/or contract oversight activities?
We do not have adequate resources within the department. However, we have access to an ATSAC contractor who might be able to do this work if the funds are appropriately transferred.
Very good. And the last question is, as you leave, get their names and their street addresses so that you make physical contact with them, and whomever goes out tomorrow contacts them, they're able to walk with them, and they're able to get to appreciate what we will know after tomorrow.
We'd be glad to do that.
All right, and with that, the motion made by Mr. Labange will be continued for 2 weeks to get back the results. And I know Mr. Koretz wants to speak. Go for it, Paul.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak in agreement with my colleagues. I've lived in the area, represented it in the legislature. I'm the council member just on the other side of Crescent Heights. This is a problem that's been in existence almost as long as I can remember, certainly as long as Mount Olympus has been there and Laurel Canyon has had backed up traffic. As Tom pointed out, it's even worse with the Mulholland tie-ups, so if there was ever a time to do it, this is it. And with the community being willing to pay for it in our current circumstance, this is more than a no-brainer. We should just get it done.
Mr. Parks, any comments? So we will continue this for 2 weeks with the understanding that staff will meet with the community people, and you'll have staff come up with suggested locations. Hopefully, it'll be the same locations that the community's talking about, and if it isn't, obviously the rationale on why it isn't.
Yeah, but you do want a written report back, right?
Well,
Because you need language to help you
of course,
transfer
we'd
the
like a written
funds.
report, but we don't want to do anything to slow down the process.
Maria could help us with anything we got to do council-wise.
I mean, the constituents have made it clear, and every time I hear a constituent talk about potential safety issues with children, it's the number one priority around here. So, come back in 2 weeks, and community group, I hope everybody's got smiles on, and we feel that they've resolved this issue. And if they haven't, we'll make sure that they do. And thank you again.
Can I step out?
Sure, of course you can.
to the
I just want to thank you again for stepping to the plate, willing to fund it yourself, willing to work with the city. That's the kind of public-private partnership that we need to do going forward. Mr. City Attorney.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to point out that there is a precedent for speed humps in that area.
Great.
On Donalola, just down the other Studio City side, right off of Laurel Canyon. They have speed humps, and they've had them there for some time.
Perfect. And I want to thank Mr. Labange for his leadership in putting this motion together. So moved. The action will be in 2 weeks, a report back. Thank you all very much for coming. Maria Hyde, can we go to item 1, please?
Item number 1 is a DOT report in response to a Garcetti Reyes motion relative to the shared lane pavement marking Sharrow's pilot program.
Very good. Is staff here to talk about this? Michelle Mowry, the great bicyclist lady.
Michelle Mowry, Department of Transportation. I'm the city's bicycle coordinator. We are just getting started on the Sharrow study. As many of you know, a Sharrow is a marking that goes on the pavement that tells motorists, alerts motorists to the presence of bicyclists, and is placed in such a fashion to get bicyclists to ride outside of the car door zone. The required standards for installation of them are in roadways under 40 miles an hour, to be placed no less than 11 foot from the curb base, so outside of the parked cars, and in areas where parking is present 24/7. To date, we have signed an agreement with the LA County Bicycle Coalition and SCAG to fund this pilot study. Essentially, we're going to look at 5 to 10 locations for installation of the marking throughout the city within the study, and look at a number of factors to determine how well they work in the city and where they can best be placed. We had our initial meeting of the working group on Monday and discussed a number of items, but essentially the 2 deliverables that we'll be putting together for the end of the month are the study purpose, which is essentially what we're trying to establish with the development of the study, and issuance of the locations that we intend to look at. And that's all I have to report.
When do you think you can come back with more specifics?
Let me look at the schedule pretty quickly here.
Sooner the better, obviously, everybody wants
Yeah.
them.
What the primary part of the study is, we're going to do a before and after. We're going to pick the locations. We are going to go out and study the locations with bicyclists and how motorists react to the bicyclists in the location of where the Sharrow will be without the Sharrow. And then we're going to do it again once the Sharrows go into the ground. So we are looking at June 18th is when we're going to do the first round of data collection, the before study, if you will. And if all goes well and we get the Sharrows in the ground quickly after that, we've got September 16th is when we'll do the other round of data collection. If you'd like, and we can report back in maybe 120 days and tell you exactly where we are. It'll probably, the overall study is about 11 months, so, we can give you a progress report and then tell you more. But I expect some of you will hear from your constituents once the Sharrows go on the ground.
The 2 questions on that, the timeline you're saying is about what?
It's about
when they're in the ground and we can see them.
Yeah, the study is about 11 months. We're hoping the Sharrows are going to go in the ground around September 16th. They may go in earlier. We're having to use contract staff because of the lack of city staff to be able to do this. And I should mention that the funding for the installation of Sharrows is not included in the SCAG agreement and the SCAG funding. That's coming out of the city's.
Do we have the money for it? And how
We
much
do.
money?
We're coming out of our bike lane accounts.
And how much money do you think this will be?
The installation of the Sharrows will be somewhere between $100,000 and
I
$200,000.
see. But what can we do, and how did the Bicycle Coalition feel about this, to speed up that timetable and cut it in half, frankly?
I don't think we can. We've already signed an agreement, and this is what we're working with. We've been trying to lay some of the foundation before signing the MOU, so we're ready to go. It's just going to take time to do the things we need to do now.
Okay, are the cyclist community, especially the coalition, okay with that?
They're okay with the schedule and have agreed to the schedule that's all in front of us.
Okay, great. So I want to report back whatever the reality is in 60 days. Just let us know where we're at,
Okay.
okay? Colleagues, any disagreement or comments you want to make?
I thank Michelle for keep looking at SC.
Okay, we are. Yep.
Ms. Kretz, no comment. Great. We look forward to you in 60 days. Thank you for doing this. Thanks for going before the coalition, and I appreciate moving on. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would recommend that you receive and file the November 6th report, since that's fairly dated, and by the time the department comes back in 60 days, they'll have the MOU in that timeline and another written report. I think it's the most
Sounds
appropriate.
absolutely great.
Okay.
With that instructions, we will move forward with it. Okay, item number 2.
Item number 2 is the Board of Tax Cap Commissioners report relative to prohibiting the exchange of compensation to gain access to passengers.
Okay, we have a lot of cards on this, but first, before people speak, let's hear what we're talking about so people understand.
Good afternoon. Tom Drischler, Department of Transportation. Taxi Cab Commission has forwarded this draft ordinance to you to address a problem that taxi drivers have been complaining about for a number of years, and that staff have also observed happening out in the field over the years, and that is that at some hotels and other venues that generate walk-up taxi cab passengers, you have employees who basically extort money out of taxi drivers and other vehicle for hire drivers in exchange for access to the passengers, the walk-up passengers.
Say that again?
You have employees at some venues, particularly some hotels, that basically extort money. They demand cash payments or other kinds of compensation that's off the books from the taxi drivers and some vehicle for hire operators in exchange for access to passengers, particularly for the more lucrative trips, like, say, to the airport or to Disneyland or what have you. This has been a source of complaint from taxi drivers for many years, and over the years, the department has worked with the Hotel Association, and we've had numerous meetings, and we've we've gotten cooperation from them over the years, but over time, so there's transition among employees at the hotels. It continues to be a recurring problem, and I think in light of the current recession and the downturn in the economy, it's particularly difficult for many of our taxi drivers. Now, we did some research. We looked at other cities around the country. We found that San Diego has an ordinance on the books that's been on the books about 2 decades that works very well for them to address this problem. And this ordinance is modeled pretty much word for word off from the San Diego ordinance.
I appreciate your report. And does DOT enforce this new ordinance, assuming it were to happen?
It would be enforced by DOT, LAPD could participate. We would also bring in the Public Utilities Commission to help enforce it as well. They do participate in sting operations in San Diego. However, talking with my colleagues in San Diego, they say they don't really have to do too many sting operations. Once you have this law on the books, you have the authority you can contact the hotel where there's a problem, inform the management, and the vast majority of cases, they'll take care of it.
And that is my second question. How does the Los Angeles Hotel Association respond to this proposed ordinance?
Well, we have a representative from the Hotel Association here today who is going to provide a response.
Very good.
It's my, well, I'll let him speak for himself.
All right, thanks. You can sit in the front bench there, because I have a whole lot of speaker cards, too. Thank you very much for that so far. Yes.
Could I add one point to what he was just saying? From my experience in another city, which won't be named, they're also sort of the reverse, where it may be a taxi company rather than a particular hotel extorting individual taxi drivers. It sometimes can be a taxi company that proactively looks to buy the ability to get all the trips out of a particular hotel.
The other side
And
of the same coin.
I know that absolutely did happen at times in the city of West Hollywood.
Yes.
I don't know if that's as common a problem, but it cuts both ways.
Well, that actually was
Stop it in both
that
directions.
actually was a problem in the city of Los Angeles.
In 2003, the Board of Taxicab Commissioners prohibited that practice among the taxicab companies, and that effectively ended that practice in the city. So that if companies do engage in that kind of behavior, that can jeopardize their franchise. Unfortunately for the taxi industry and the taxi drivers, that didn't affect the town car operators and some of the limousine companies that can actually, quote unquote, buy the door. But by the way, I do want to point out, though, that this law does not prohibit a legitimate limousine company from having an arrangement, a contract with a hotel to be their limousine provider. So I just want to make that clear. But that was a very good point, sir. And it generally wasn't a formal deal with a hotel either. It would be some general manager or someone on their own, filling their own pockets without the knowledge of the hotel.
Right. That did become a significant problem, and the Taxi Cab Commission did act upon that a number of years ago.
And so we really think that problem's been eliminated.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Mr. Parks has a question. Let me ask you, we work with the legitimate service, the people that are putting on the legitimate town cars and such, to talk about this ordinance?
Yes, I've communicated with the Greater Southern California Limousine Association, I believe.
Did they have any concerns about it?
Their concern was whether this rule would affect their ability to enter into contracts with the hotels, which we have assured them it will not, because it certainly does in San Diego, and that is not the intention of when we go to enforce this.
So in essence, this ordinance says if you do not have a pre-existing contract, you can't provide the service.
No, this is more focused on individual employees kind of running a concern of their own.
But for the legitimate people, it requires them to have a pre-existing contract with the location in order for them to be not cited.
Well, if they have, they can have a contract with a particular hotel or venue. That's fine. But anytime they do load passengers, it has to be on a prearranged basis, which is specified in their Public Utilities Commission authorities.
I hear the first part of what you said.
Anytime they do conduct business out of the venue, it's supposed to be on a prearranged basis and documented on a waybill prior to the transportation being provided.
Okay.
That's
Is that on a case-by-case basis, or do they have the ability to have a relationship ongoing?
Well, they're certainly, no, this would not prohibit them from having an ongoing relationship with the hotel. So that when passengers want the limousine service, they can recommend a particular limousine service. And as long as the operator, when he's doing the pickup, has a waybill that's completed according to the PUC specifications and also City of LA specifications, it's no problem.
So in essence, he's showing up for a fare as opposed to just lurking for someone to come in or out.
Right. Right.
Thank you. Let's sit in the first row. Are you Ruben?
Yes.
Ruben Gonzalez. Tell us your reaction to Hotel Association of LA.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Ruben Gonzalez. I'm the Executive Director of the Hotel Association of Los Angeles. Surprising as it may seem, the association is not in favor of extortion, so we are not opposing the ordinance as proposed before you. We have and will always work with the city, with the Department of Transportation to manage these issues. We have in the past. Our general managers are more than willing and can use this as a tool to sit down with employees and say, this is now the law, please don't do this. And we've done so as this has been on the books as a law, state law that the PUC has enforced for quite a while. I think our only concern is the manner of enforcement and how the complaints are handled. The reality is that, as Tom was saying, the demarcation isn't always clear. Where you decide whether it's a good ride or a bad ride is whether or not the ride has been agreed to upon before the patron steps out in front of the hotel. If they're just inside the door and they sign a waybill with an employee with either a company that's contracted with them or just a company the hotel works with, then it's a good ride. If they walk out front and then the bellman is pushing them towards a limo as opposed to a taxi, that's when we run into a situation where it isn't a good ride. There isn't a waybill, there isn't an agreement beforehand. Because of that thin demarcation line, you run into issues where the gentlemen driving the taxis who rightfully have been waiting in line and wanting to get these fares see a passenger going into a limo and assume that something nefarious is possibly going on. This is going to lead to many complaints that beyond what can be proven, beyond what can be stung.
Okay. I appreciate what you're saying. Stay close to Tom on that and work that out. If an issue does arise that we need to deal with, please come back to us. Okay? Sure. Go ahead.
In your mind, does it require not only the movement towards someone giving you a favor, but also the exchange of funds for the hotel personnel? Does it require both acts? If they're not only pushing people towards a certain transportation, but there's the second part.
Well, as I read this ordinance, and Tom can correct me, it's about the exchange of funds. It's about a kickback.
The person that picks them up has to give the hotel employee or the business employee some compensation.
Correct.
So the fact that the first part, just merely directing them to that vehicle isn't a violation.
Well, it's a violation, and Tom's the expert on it, but as I understand it, it's a violation of state law. If there is no waybill that exists for the ride that has been done beforehand, before they walk out front, then that ride should not be given to a limo as it is given to a taxi that has been waiting out front. So this ordinance does not deal with that particular infraction, as I understand it, but that's not allowable either.
Okay. If issues do arise, please get with Tom, and we'll come back and discuss it further. But I appreciate your overall appreciation of this ordinance. We have a bunch of cards, folks, and I don't know if people disagree with each other out there, so let's all come up and sit in the seats and see if we can do it 1 minute apiece. Otherwise, we'll be here for an hour. If we need more time, we'll certainly give you more time to finish something if you're in the middle of a thought or an idea. Martin, I'm very bad on names. City Cab from San Fernando Road, Shataktt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's me.
JSINGH. Is that right? J. Okay. Philip, I want to say Batson. If I got that right. Oh, thank you, sir. Then we have Fabio Ferharu. Did I say that right? Come on up, Fabio. And then I'll go into the next four after that. Please,
good afternoon.
For the record.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and the committee members. Martin Shataktt from City Cab, the president. I drove a taxi myself for 9 years in Los Angeles since 1991 to 2000. And from 2000, I am managing various taxi cab companies on various positions. Currently, I'm president of City Cab. What is happening in these hotels starting after 2003 when the city passed the ordinance banning all the exclusive agreements between taxi cab companies and hotels is really outrageous. We on our side as an industry discontinued all our exclusive agreements with every hotel and we are not paying any of them, period. This is about City of Los Angeles. Meanwhile, nothing was done back in 2003 about TCP companies. They basically got a blank card in their hand. And they're doing, until today, they have these exclusive agreements with the hotels, paying up the hotels, paying up the doormans. The doormans came to the extent to pulling our passengers from our taxi cabs, pulling our luggages from our trunks.
The bottom line is, do you like this ordinance?
It's absolutely necessary to be passed yesterday.
Very good.
Thank you.
Appreciate that very much. Please.
Yes, sir. Jay Singh,
very good.
Taxi cab driver for 15 years. The limos and town cars have taken away 50% of our business, or even more, and it's affected our income drastically. And the doormen demand more from them, and even ask us for money, which I don't know if it's law to give them, but it really does affect our income.
So you like the law?
Oh, yeah.
Potential?
Absolutely, certainly.
Appreciate that very much. Philip?
Yes, my name is Philip Patton. I've been driving a city cab for almost 9 years. That nowadays, that town car and that TCP limousine are worse than before. For example, last week I was parking right in front of in Holiday Inn across the street on Nokia. Then he was parking on the right car of the SUV. Then me and the other cab behind me, I was first stop. 7 people came out from the hotel. They came to me. They were foreigner. They don't speak English very well. So, "Do you free?" I said, "Yes." So we need 2 cabs. Yes, at the same time, one of them, their group, that guy from that SUV, he flagged. So he went there and he talked, and the next 2 minutes, all of them, they went to the car. Then I told the guy, "Hey man, this is not, they come to me, and then you need a reservation or something to pick up somebody." "Oh, no, it's my friend." So anyhow, he took off.
Do you like the ordinance?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
that. Appreciate that. Sir?
My name is Fabian Farnia. This law has long been overdue, and I'm glad that it's a law. And in the past 30-some years that I've driven taxi, I've never liked the idea of a doorman putting his hand in my pocket and taking my money out of my pocket because he wants to get fed. And it's totally unacceptable, and it will be unacceptable. The other problem that seems to create a problem is if a limousine or a town car comes and parks at the same location as a stationary, this problem would continue, thinking that he's going to take the good trips and the bad trips will be cab drivers. The town car should only be there when the order is ready to be picked up, the passenger is ready to go. This way, this problem would be eliminated, and the legitimate calls would go to the legitimate cab drivers who've been sitting there for hours waiting for a trip.
Good point. Appreciate that. But you like this ordinance as a start?
Very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. for
Thank you.
speaking. Jamio, Y-O-U-S-E-T-E, yellow cab. Did I get that right? Rosecrans Avenue, Gardena. Marco Soto. See how easy one that one was. Okay, Sam Samamari. Okay, Sam, see you. Fabian Ferrara. Okay. Good afternoon. You're
Good
up.
afternoon. It's regarding the hotels and what my other partners told you.
Yeah.
For us, it's really hard, especially you wait in the line for 2.5 hours, waiting for a passenger to come out, and just for a couple of bucks, they sell your passenger to a limo driver. And if you go to some hotels, you would see those limo drivers, they do not even have an insurance to take a passenger. They don't have even a number as a TCP. They are not recognized by any company. They're just friend of the doorman, and just because they are a friend of the doorman, they make money over there. So I want to ask you guys, what's the point for me to be a cab driver? You know, just to go there. If they have a short trip, we have to take it.
Right.
The long trip goes with them. We beg you to help us.
We will, and this ordinance will be a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank
for your
you.
comment. Sir?
Good afternoon, City Council members. Marco Soto with Yellow Cab, 2129 West Rosecrans. We have worked very hard with the department, the lodging industry, and the legitimate limousine industry on the problem for many years. The Department of Transportation staff and Mr. Drishler have worked diligently to address this problem. We've tried less severe solutions offered by the hotels and limo companies, and nothing's worked. This graft is taking place right under the nose of hotel management, and they are neither unable or willing to stop it. Our licensed franchise taxi drivers are losing trips to illegal operators, and passengers are being ripped off. The drivers pay the doorman and then turn around and overcharge the passenger to make up for it. We ask that you please support this ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments, too.
What high school did you go to?
Bravo.
Were you an intern in Mr. Reardon's office?
Yes, I was. I was an intern under
He
you, sir.
remembers the face, never forgets. He worked for Reardon.
Right. And who was your supervisor in Mr. Reardon's office?
That was you, sir.
All right.
It was Tom LeBon. No wonder why you knew you. Very
How many
good.
years ago that? I guess about 15, huh?
About, yes, 12 years.
Didn't he get old since then? No, go ahead. You're up.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sam Samirami. I'm the taxi supervisor. I quit my job because I received a threat by some limo company front of the Sheraton Hotel, and I have a witness here. They're coming over there. They call Mr. Newcastle, I mean the street I live in. We know it, where you live. We have all information about you. And they told me, okay, move. Then the manager of the hotel, she come in and tell me, you know what? You're not allowed to sitting here and ride at the taxi limousine company, TCP. And then right now they back on the Sheraton Hotel. the new JW Marriott, and the same thing. The doorman call them and give them a trip and tell me, he give me notice to this driver, the yellow cab driver, just give me $2 for the trip to LAX, but the town car give me $10 to $15. And I don't know how long it's going to be continue like that on all the hotel right now. You can see park, Hall Lane, many of them.
Thank you. And this law will help you on that. Thank you very much. Sir, name for
Mr. Chairman, and thank you very much, and you give us this opportunity to talk with you today. My name is Sam Joldy, and the operation of that taxi industry in the city of Los Angeles and all the city. And actually, I am every day on the street and dealing with the situation. All those drivers you fire through the hot meter, and also through that sexual harassment. They have a one-ton car, junk ton car, and dealing with the doorman and so on. This doorman already bought the cab, there's some kind of a car, and they're dealing directly with this kind of a people. And please, we really need your support and totally out of rage, especially the new hotel. And last week I went to open JW Marriott, and hotel just started, a huge problem right now I'm having over there.
Wow.
Thank you very much for your support today, gentlemen.
Thank you very much for this. Appreciate it very
Thank
much. So let's stay strong on this law, and hopefully it'll go a long way to solving this problem.
Thank you very much, Mr.
My
Chairman.
pleasure. Did I do Fabian Ferreira? Yes, that's what I thought.
Oh,
See?
sorry.
I thought it was that. Okay. Belay. You're good. You saved me from having to butcher the last name. Sam, Jeldi. That was you, see? Okay, I hope I didn't miss somebody who wanted to speak. Okay. How about Heterbad High? It's H-E, is that you, sir? No, okay. I think it's Hetttasai. Very good. Okay, David Shapiro, that was easy enough, David. Good to see you. Marta? Martin?
No. You filled out more than we required. Yeah.
That might be this gentleman. Come on up to the seat. You got a councilman who's really bad news when it comes to pronunciation. Okay, among other things. Okay, Belay, you're up.
Good afternoon. My name is Belayon Datar. I'm supervisor for a taxi company. These all problems, I'm facing it every day in the different hotels. The issue is growing every day. And all the managers we talk to solve the problem, the taxi drivers, they have permit, they have legitimate taxis still, and they're standing in front of the hotels, but these town car drivers, they're coming and they're taking their business. And I asked, I asked the doorman, why you do this? Why you give this trip to this driver? Oh, they have a personnel. Do you know the name? Do you know their room number? They don't know. They came, they asked me, town car. You don't have to give all these town cars without a name and room, reservation. There is a taxi, this kind of person who if they need a town car, they can go to the concierge and make a reservation.
Right.
So now, I just put it, I'm sorry. And the problem is growing every day. Please, we need you guys help, I hope we'll solve this problem.
Sure. The ordinance will help. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
Good afternoon, Transportation Committee, Council members, Martin Manukian with Yellow Cab. Since the ordinance passed 2003 regarding exclusives, we thought we were going to keep that in control, but basically there's a big trick going on. Hotel celebrity goes down to concierge. Basically he asks for some particular location, how much is the price, and concierge, since there's a relationship between the doorman and him, he offers like 50 cabs to LAX, it's a cab ride, but as well as we have a limousine, almost the same price. Which one would you like to take? Here is the problem when there is a pre-range supposed to be, that considered as pre-range, because every celebrity goes down there like priorly, couple of hours before, or 1 day before, or 2 days before. There is a pre-range, and there is nothing you can do, there is no way you can control. Even though if you go and ask them, are you pre-range? The answer is yes. They consider as the book, which is basically their names and everything, all the information. The ordinance will help, that'll stop, so I'm with the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Let's make sure I got say the name again on the...
Martin Manoukian. I don't know if that's me.
Yellow cab, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sir.
Good afternoon. Nataba Ahmed, President of Independent Taxi. We are in support of this ordinance, and we need you to vote for it. The reason is, in our business, we have 4 type of clientele. There's bus riders, there are shuttle riders, and there are taxi riders, and there are limo riders. So we have no problem with the legitimate limo riders. No one from the customer comes down to the door and says, I need a limo. They know that they have to arrange it prior to what they need. For taxis, yes. So what we're facing a problem now is customers are coming down, requesting a taxi, and the doorman is channeling them towards the limos, and that's hurting our business. And then if you are concerned about enforcement, all you have to do is a sting operation. Somebody dressed up as a businessman goes to a hotel, demand a taxi, and if they push him towards the limo, then we can get rid of that doorman. But we're not after the legitimate limo drivers, but we are after the town cars that are acting like a taxi. Those need to be stopped.
Appreciate that very much. David Shapiro.
Speaking as the founder and board member of UITD, I've been driving many, many months now out of economic need, and I've been talking to literally hundreds and hundreds of the most professional drivers, and all of them have the same spirit they had in the months of 1976, just before the fall of Yellow Cab. They've given up on government. They feel totally disrespected, and they wonder how they're going to feed their families the next day, and that's why they're not here. They're out there. They would all be here, overrunning this place for this. The dignity of the professional drivers is at stake from this action. Limos now, as never seen in my 33 years, park at the Lakers game at 11th and Fig, behind the taxi line in the red. Taxi drivers confined to the thing. The Sheraton LAX, Sheraton downtown, limo parked directly in front of the door by the manager, always. LAX, the taxi limo line in front of the taxi other line, and this is incredibly important. Thanks to the DOT for coming through with their report on this.
Beautiful. Thank you for your comments, too.
Thank you,
Ahmed,
Councilmember.
come on up, Ahmed, and ALTAYE. They're the last 2 cards. Go for it, Ahmed.
My name is Altai Asfaw. I'm from Latwa, and I'm reporting this is a very difficult time for a taxi driver. Very hard. All day making $40, $30. The doorman is making more than a taxi driver. The doorman is demanding $15 and $10 from the town car. The town car easy to pay, and he likes to charge $80, $90. Some customer comes to us. They ask us, we want to take this taxi, charges $50, $46. I don't want this town car, $80, $90, but the doorman tells them the same price. And taxi is dirty, you don't need that, That's what it says. Please send somebody, he can investigate those guys. The doorman is very tough. But sometimes they call for $5 trip, 2.5 hours sitting. All the trips, good trips gone to the town car. Even they don't have a license, sometimes they don't have insurance. The customer is in danger. The hotel is making crime on the customer coming to the Los Angeles town. Respect. They get respect.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming up, too.
Good afternoon, committee members. Hamid Khan with the LA Taxi Workers Alliance. While we appreciate DOT's effort and the commission for taking these necessary steps in the right direction, but, we support that, but it also highlights the need that if necessary steps are taken at the right time by enforcing violations of prearranged pickup rules, then we won't even have to get to this point. Obviously, conditions get created, and we've also spoken to Unite here, Local 11 and County Fed, and Lane as well, and we're in conversations with them how to approach the hotel workers about this issue as well, because conditions get created that it pits one working group of people against another one. So while, we really appreciate that this step is being taken, we hope that in the future, the enforcement agencies are more proactive, so it doesn't really create conditions where extortion takes place and people are just, based upon their daily survival, they're demanding money from each other. So thank you.
I appreciate that comment, but I also appreciate the fact that various groups of taxi cab drivers are in agreement in this room.
Absolutely.
It's the first time I've seen that, and let's hope that spirit, cooperation, and coordination happens so we don't have to waste a lot of energy.
Thank you very much.
Fighting with each other over things. I'd like to ask staff one more question. Come on up. Let's say I'm a taxi cab driver, and I see somebody doing something shady over there, be it with a limo or with some buddy friend. What do I do as a cab driver at that point?
Well, given the resources of the department and the fact that they are somewhat limited, I would recommend that the cab driver make note of the situation at hand, report it to their management, to forward it to DOT for investigation. We just simply don't have the capability in terms of staff to, pick up the phone and say, oh, you've got a problem, and then go there.
Okay, so if you get that kind of a call, then what happens? What do you do?
Well, looking at the circumstances, if it seems like it's credible, my staff or myself could contact the hotel, let them know that they have a problem, or if it's an ongoing kind of problem, we can go there and do field investigation on our own, do observations.
And what kind of fines do we have attached to this?
Well, this would be a misdemeanor.
Misdemeanor.
That would be 6 months in jail or $1,000 fine or both.
Very good.
Maximum.
We need the money for the city budget. Let's be very aggressive on that, okay? That's my questions. Comments from any other comments?
Just a quick comment. DOT, which has staff, do you ever work with LAPD?
Oh, yes. Well, they work with us on the Bandit Taxi Enforcement Program.
Yeah, would it help them when you roll this out, just to see if they could roll with you a little, get a little teamwork?
Sure.
Make that determination? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Kretz.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. My impression for years in a lot of venues in LA City is that we're kind of the wild, wild west in terms of enforcement. I'm sure you've heard me say that before. It's certainly true in this arena, and the quicker we clean it up and other similar circumstances, I think the better for the city and its operation and its reputation.
Very good. Mr. Parks. Okay, the other issue, of course, is the limo business. How are we going to deal with being proactive or smelling a rat in the room and dealing with the limo business? Would it be the same process that a cab driver could go up the process, complain, and would get to you? Because that's the more problematic in my mind on some levels.
Yes, well, last year the council passed our waybill ordinance, which gave us authority, the DOT investigators as well as LAPD, to inspect waybills of the limousine operators at any point in time, whether they're in the process of loading or not. And that gives us the ability to verify that the trips that they're conducting are prearranged. And we have been making some not arrests, but sightings of town car operators that do not have completed waybills or not have prearranged business. Given our resources, we try to use them wisely to make effective enforcement activities.
The next question is, the ignorance is no excuse for violating the law. We make this ordinance, we put it in place. Will you make a simple fact sheet of what the law is, 6 months jail, $1,000 fine for, and get it to every hotel so they can't say, I didn't know about it? I mean, how will we do the informational distribution of this issue?
Sure, we could do that. I work with Ruben to distribute that information out to the hotels.
Okay.
We'll certainly do that,
I
sir.
want you to do it with Ruben, but I want you to do it with the cab companies and all the people involved in cabs.
Sure.
So that the drivers here in the room might have a little card themselves that they understand, and if they see something happen, they might just show this to the doorman or the concierge or somebody and say, hey, this is a big deal, if they felt like it. But I think more knowledge on this and awareness of this will go a long way.
Yeah, and most likely it's going to take at least a handful of actual enforcement operations for the word to get out on the street, and when it does, we think that this will all be pretty effective.
Very, very good. When you bring it before council, if you could possibly put a little plan in there, marketing this, getting the message out, how people would become aware of this new ordinance and how they could effectively use it.
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you. Colleagues, yeah, Mr. Kretz.
Yeah, on that same line of thought, is there a way to create some sort of an anonymous hotline so that taxi drivers would have a number to report being asked for this kind of tip or whatever you would call it?
We do have a hotline now that is set up basically for the public to call when they have complaints, and we can take information through that hotline.
Great, put that number on that fact sheet.
Exactly. I was thinking that same thing, that whatever we can do to get it out both to the taxi companies and the hotels, and that if those requests are made in either direction, that should be reported right away.
And it is very effective for them to forward their complaints to their management, and they bring them to DOT as well. So
very good. I appreciate the hard work you did, the fact you got through the commission and support of the folks in the room. Maria, what would be the time for this on the council?
I think the earliest would be March 19th, is that?
This item can be scheduled on Friday, March 19th.
Very good. So you all know that. You don't have to come down, but, 1 or 2 reps would be good. I don't think there'll be any opposition on the council to something as important as this. But thank you, everybody, for coming and speaking, and thank you very much for putting this together.
If I could recommend that the committee approve the recommendation of the Board of Tax Cap Commissioners and request the city attorney to prepare the ordinance, and then as well the department to prepare a marketing plan and outreach flyer that includes for the hotels and the taxi companies.
Very good. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Thank
And
you.
for the record, as vice chair, could I just pronounce Bill William Willie Rosenhundendall? So I wanted to make sure we're equal. I'm Tom Labongi, and we sometimes make mistakes with names. Is that fair, Billy?
God bless you.
Okay.
First of all, let's have a vote on this. Are we, colleagues, we in favor of this?
Indeed. Move the
Unanimous. Thank you so much. Thank you. I like that spirit of cooperation, folks. Let's carry that forward. Thank you.
That's your leadership, Bill.
Okay, that brings us to item number 3, which is the LeBon Rosendahl motion relative to the clarification on the policy regarding parking at a failed parking meter.
Okay, this is a big one, obviously. This is my old gold in the gutter day. Can we have a report on what this motion of LeBon Rosendahl relative to clarification on the policy regarding parking at failed parking meters, which is a big deal. We have 17 to 19% of our parking meters are failed, correct?
Good afternoon, council members. Amir Sadati, Assistant General Manager, joined here with Dan Mitchell, our Senior Engineer in charge of meter technology. And I do want to, before we begin talking on this report, also acknowledge the cooperation we saw, and we acknowledge that working together we can achieve a lot of things. So I do acknowledge that. Basically, I think there's Council Member Labange in council, I think, was asking me about the policy of issuing citations to failed meters, and there's a lot of confusion out there, so I'm glad that this motion is out here for us to present information and answer questions to council members and also for the public. So to begin, the policy of the Department of Transportation is not to issue any citations to broken meters. So that right off the bat, if there is a failed meter,
It is not our policy of our traffic officers to go out and issue a citation for that.
And how many failed meters do we have?
The recent study that I think the Desmond did was somewhere around 10 to 12%. It really varies, council member. We have for 3 years come to you and told you we have an aging infrastructure meters that are outdated. And thanks to the council, we've changed about 18% of that with the pilot programs we've done with the pay stations and single space. The council last week gave us the authority to move with the Express Park, which is for the downtown area, so that takes care of another 16%. And I think the council also directed us to, as quickly as possible, come back and fix 10,000 or replace 10,000 meters also. So that takes care of a lot of the problem areas. But going back to the point, so there's a few issues I think that needs to be clarified. So there are multiple violations that a person can have on a parking space. So if a time expires, that's one violation under the LAMC. If you park beyond the posted time limit, that is another violation. So by somebody
What's the
going...
first one?
Parking at an expired meter, meaning you...
Violation.
That's one violation. And if the sign says 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, if you park beyond that time, then that's a different violation. It's 88.13A, 88.13B, and then there's 88.13C, which is also the posted time limits where you don't have meters. So there are different violations, and maybe some of the confusion that I didn't get a chance to really talk to Councilmember Labange, but I believe what I think his constituents were saying is, if I parked at a broken meter, why did I get a citation? And again, not knowing the citation and what the citation was for, there's a possibility that citation was for posted time limit.
Could you get 2 or 3 tickets for your same car in the same spot? A, the expired meter, B, it says not after 4 o'clock, or you just say, get 2 or 3 tickets?
Currently, if you are parked in a spot that has multiple violations, our policy is to enforce multiple violations. We do not currently issue multiple violations for the same violation. So if
you're in the spot, it says 2-hour park, right?
Yes.
And you park and you put in the money for 2 hours, it expires after 2 hours. Would you get a ticket because you still stayed there after the 2 hours plus the ticket of the expired? Or?
Depending, I think, on the time, if the officer comes within a reasonable time after the meter has expired, then that's what the ticket is for. If the vehicle is staying much longer, and let's say the officer comes back during the beat, and that car is now taking that valuable parking space from the other people that can use it, then if the ticket is there for the violation of the meter being expired, then there's an additional violation that could be given for the time. And again, all of this is really not to penalize the people. I know the perception could be such that, I'm sure your office is here all the time that we're taxing the public and we're doing that, but really our officers are just doing their job. And it leads me to the other part where I think some of the problems we've been having with the meters, which is part of the reason why we've come to you and why you have asked us to go and replace these things, is as a result of these parking meters being faulty. And I spoke with a gentleman in the audience today. That's really something that we can't control. The officer did not know. And when the officer came, there was a ticket issued, but we have to go into the mechanics of the meter, and we have put in a process into place where we try to make it as easy as people to inform the Department of Transportation of these broken and faulty meters. So one thing we've done is every meter in the city of Los Angeles has a yellow sticker on it with a hotline. So we created a meter hotline for people to write their call if they have a cell phone. And I know not everybody has a cell phone, but anyway, that's one way of reporting a broken meter. Once you do that, it gets into a log system, so if a citation is issued, then there is a cross-reference check to see if there was a problem with that meter. And it starts what's called a complaint and investigation process. In addition, our traffic officers have been trained to report broken meters as they see them. That's yet another way. Our meter collections, our meter technicians are yet 2 other methods of, again, they're on the streets. If meter collectors report it to us, obviously meter technicians fix them right away. So those are the limitations on the old technology. The new technology, in real time, gives us the information via text messaging, via centers, so we know real time what meters are broken and how we can send our limited resources to fix them. So that kind of brings me to the issue that how do people complain and how does the whole process work? So we've on the back of every citation, there is a way for people to contest. They can do it by mail, by phone, in person. And every contested citation is marked. It goes through a process where they investigate. For the meters, specifically, it comes back to Mr. Mitchell's shop. His staff look at their database to see on the date of the event or any time before that, was there any problems with the meters? And based on that, a determination is made. That information is given to the Parking Violations Bureau and so forth. The other part of our outreach, I think, was another part of the council member's motion was outreach and how can we do a better job informing the public. And we agree with that. We have some information in our websites currently, council member, but we are going to enhance that much better and make it a lot clearer on policies and what to do. But really, I think the underlying effort is change the technology. By changing technology, you will improve and you will lessen a lot of the headaches that unfortunately a lot of people...
It's the timetable of replacing the technology in a perfect world and in the world we're living in.
We heard the council very loud and clearly that it has to be done as quickly, as fast as possible in any way. So we're working out right now on those fine deal points to come back. We're looking hopefully to begin within a month to begin the replacing of the 10,000 and try to finish at least that piece by July 30th.
Very good, very good, very good. I got 3 quick questions, and I know Mr. LeBlanc, you want to ask.
Mr. LeBlanc has many questions, but we'll be here.
And Mr. Parks, too. Can the Los Angeles, and you just pretty well answered it, but for the record, can the Los Angeles Parking Violation Bureau website be updated, perhaps under the frequently asked questions section, to include all this information? People know how to access that?
Absolutely.
Second question, has there been much use of the new link that allows people to report malfunctioning parking meters online?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. That's another thing that I didn't mention, but on there, besides the number calling, people that have access to the internet can go and anonymously. We ask for an email if you want to, but if you don't want to, you don't have to put an email address. So that, and we give a diagram also to what number or what information to provide to us. So that's on our website currently.
Very good. Third question, how many expired time tickets are issued annually at expired meters, and how many are dismissed?
Roughly about 550,000. Expired meters are the second largest pool of tickets the city issues. It's about 19%.
After street cleaning?
After street cleaning. And out of that, roughly 2% is contested. Roughly 2% of 550,000, maybe 10,000, 12,000. And out of that, 60% are valid, and 60% are dismissed, 40% are valid.
I see. My last question is anecdotal. I came into the office last Monday. You can leave. From this last Monday, 10 days ago now, and there were a million messages and phones and threatening to recall the councilman because in Brentwood at a Starbucks, people got multiple tickets like 1 minute after their timing expired or at the same time as expired, as they were getting to the car, and the constituents, most of them didn't leave any names, but one did, and I tried to get the guy back, saying basically that they were harassed and abused and there was no appreciation of them. Does that happen in any
Councilmember, I've been here 3.5 years now, and I assure you, customer service professionalism has been on top of my list. Our officers are the best. Nobody likes getting a parking ticket, and I think there is a reason why they don't leave their information for you. You know, our parking officers know not to give. They literally give about a 5-minute grace period. So it is not, something that's 1 minute. I don't know whose watch they're going with. It might feel like a minute, but I assure you, if you give me any information on any of my officers being rude to any of your constituents, we will take care of that. That is not something we do. They have a very, very tough job. As you know, as this committee has heard, they get spit on, they get cussed at, they get threatened, they get hit with cars. So it is, as the economy gets worse, and we get it. We're not, they're just trying to do their job.
I appreciate that very much, but I wanted to put that on the record. Mr. Levine, and Mr. Koretz, and Mr. Park.
I like when you put stickers on there. Would you put stickers on peak hour streets like this that says peak hour restrictions, check posted times? Because nothing's worse than you see a space open and you park there and you come back and you have a $380 ticket. And I've seen this in other cities. I may have sent you some. Let me see your exhibit.
Well, right now, we have it on a red thing like this.
All right,
because
good.
of the post, we can't
Got
really
it.
do things, so we are working to put that larger on the meter head.
Put it right in there. That's number
If we
one.
change these 10,000s, we're going to put more information on it. All the pay stations already have it.
Here's
To add to Mr. Sadati's response, even the newer technology, Dan Mitchell, City of Los Angeles, Department of Transportation, Senior Transportation Engineer. To add to his response, the newer technology won't allow you to pay into that peak hour restricted period. So if you're parking at 2:30 and at 3 o'clock, no parking's allowed, it will only allow you to pay for that half hour, and it'll give you a message letting you know that
Must move your vehicle.
you must move your vehicle, and so that you don't have that issue. So the new technology helps to address that by preventing someone from paying into that period rather than getting into that situation.
I just think whatever, if there's somebody who's I heard anecdotally, that's a word that you used today quite a bit, that sometimes valets will throw slugs in there or try to trick it to just use the space, or sometimes others, whatever it is, I hate the fact that we give people tickets on a failed meter. It's like inviting you to, I got that, but you gotta speak out loud, because here it is, this, dear Councilman Labange, I lived out of state for many years, I've come back 45 years, I live in your district, blah, blah, blah. I come to Los Angeles, I get a ticket, I send the check in, the cancel check from the city comes back, I get another notice, $81. I talked to Amir Sadati, very nice guy, he seems like he's very knowledgeable, but he didn't help me with my problem. I'm not saying it that way, I'm just saying, here's the person who got a ticket, and now they're going through the maze. I would like, and I know we have a ticket bureau here, I think we should try to be friendly, because here's the situation. There's a lot of short fuses in the world, and people are out of work and out of jobs, and there's challenges with families. In the district that I represent, along with Mr. Garcetti and Mr. Reyes, Mr. Rosendahl in some parts, Mr. Koretz, it's the highest densely populated area. People come home late at night, they work at night, they chance parking sometimes, they get tickets, all the meters. When we're going along with you on those meters, in some areas where there's 8 to 8, it's not light. I'll use this example. I see people trying to read the automated machines, and they're looking through their purse. They're in a vulnerable position. I hope there's no people put in harm's way there. I want to have a friendly, efficient transportation. Keep Los Angeles moving safety. Isn't that what it says on the side of your vehicles?
Yes.
So I think that's real important. And the other one here is a filmmaker. He actually got a ticket for unloading, and he was unloading at a work site, etc., like this. We should have compassion. We have great officers who do fine things. And I know in emergencies, they've done fine things, whether it was the Griffith Park fire or whatever. But I just think we need to have this be heard, send this to council, have you make a presentation so they know that. And if someone says, I got a ticket, henceforth from a failed meter, we want to know about that, because we don't do that, do we?
I'm sorry?
We don't give tickets at failed meters.
We don't.
Right. Let me ask another question, because the people who operate tickets used to operate intersections. There was like a 6-2 plan unofficially. You familiar with that? Where they would write and enforce for 6 hours, and then 2 hours they would do traffic control. Have you pulled everybody off the street on traffic control?
We've redesigned the whole Bureau of Parking Enforcement. We're enforcing, we've done a whole redesign. We got now one officer, one area to do a better service to the community.
Or like a senior lead officer. But let me ask you a question. How about the assistance you give for keeping Los Angeles moving safely, where they do intersection control? Did you stop doing that?
Some of those locations have been reduced and...
Have you told the city council that?
We have worked with some of the affected council offices, and we have talked to them, but...
Have you told Mr. Koretz about Highland Avenue? He has part of Highland Avenue. Have you heard about it, Paul? No, they haven't told me about it. You know, so I'm just saying, I know there's challenging times you're trying to adjust, but I think all this comes down to we have to serve the people. I would rather have you... The 6-2 plan is the plan that you rejected of mine that says you do parking enforcement for 6 hours, you do traffic control for 2, because people get frustrated, you know, in their mobility. So,
Can I clarify one thing? I just want to go back to the meters, because I think you keep asking me a question, and I'm telling you no, but there are, with this current aging infrastructure, some of these meters through their whatever it is, they sometimes coins get stuck in it, or sometimes they take coins. So these aging infrastructure meters somehow have some problems. So when the person might be at the meter, it may be in a failed or non-failed mode, and when an officer comes, it might be out of that failed mode.
what are the oldest meters out there?
Oh, he's 13 years old.
13 years old, so they're relatively young.
And I just want to assure you that gone through this...
Yeah, right.
Gone through there, we have worked with our traffic officers through bulletin, through training, through the technology to show their officers that this meter had done something funky, and not issue citations on it. So we've tried every step of the way not to penalize the public. And I can't sit here and tell you 100% of that is guaranteed. No, there are some people with those emails and some in the audience that are going to argue differently that that's not the case. But it's not the norm, and I think you've done the right thing by going after a technology that takes away from the human element, and it's done automatically, as Mr. Mitchell mentioned.
Very good.
Mr. Koretz. Yeah, for the 10,000 replacement meters, are you prioritizing them in any way by the number of meters in the general area that are problematic? Because I can, as an example, in the area that I live in, near Beverly Boulevard and Kings, if you go in several blocks in either direction on Beverly, virtually every single meter is a failed meter. So are you looking at those sections where that is more likely to be the case and replacing those more quickly?
Many factors go. That's one of them, council member. Vandalism, revenue they generate, the demand of the parking for the area. Many of those factors go into considering what makes up that 10,000.
Well, that area would be very heavily parked up and would be a heavy generator.
We made a mental note, and we will make sure that area is included.
In that area, both on Beverly Boulevard and on 3rd Street, there are a lot of valets that have intentionally damaged the meters as well, and that's part of why they're not working. I'm hoping that the new meters are tougher and less easy to jerry-rig the way these guys have done it. But that's part of why there's so much of a problem, because there's so much density, and at the same time, people out there damaging the meters.
By you allowing us to do small pilots for 2 years.
Thank God it wasn't screeching.
That wasn't me.
You're great. Thanks for doing that.
So vandalism is a big issue. So.
Got it. Is there laws on our books to prevent vandalism?
There are, council member. We have very limited investigators, but yes.
Can you guys another question?
Well, we have the laws, but at the same time, I don't think we're not able to provide the resources to watch these.
Sometimes you could say, what we could do, if you mentioned on 3rd Street, that's what I thought, Paul, I'm sure there's a lot of video on 3rd Street for safety protection. You just put the word out that we're going to look at this here, because it is not good to vandalize purposely city equipment or steal city property. I just have a technical question for the city. Is it Jerry Rig or Jimmy Mack? On that. We have one public comment card.
Mr. Parks.
Let me just verify, on the first pilot that we did, what was the number of meters we changed out?
Approximately 18%, and that was 7,000 spaces, roughly 6,500 to 7,000 spaces.
Okay, and then the current issue is going to about 10,000 of getting...
Roughly about 27%.
Okay, but these are all meters that we know are broken. So there'll be, so although we're looking at a priority of putting them in place where the high revenue, but our goal is to replace meters that are broken.
Broken because of their age, because of vandalism, because of the area, revenue, so it would be a combination, council member.
But that's approximately 10.
Yes.
Okay. Now, and you will get back with us in July when that job is done.
Yes, we've got the directions to move as quickly, as fast as possible, so we're right now finalizing what our options are and basically taking the action or the direction we were given by council.
Okay. So if we go through with these numbers, you have roughly 23,000 meters left.
Is that right?
After the pilot and
Express part. We will have roughly 6, 12, 22, so we'll have less than 23 left, actually. We'll have about 60%, 55 to 60% taken care of, because they bring in 80% of the revenue, as we discussed in the council.
And now, are you able, as you move forward on the 10,000, to simultaneously deal with being able to put an RFP out, so in July we're working towards fixing the other 23,000 and having the integrated process?
Well, I think we're also looking at a lease option, a lease since we're broke. For perhaps one of the things we put on the table is since the council asked for the P3 meter study to come back, by us doing this lease for at least 1 year with an option to buy, it leaves all the doors open. So I think what I heard the council say is move quickly as possible with the 10,000, and in time when the P3 and the meter is before you, then I think you'll make a decision whether you're going to want us to do the RFP or which direction to go.
What I'd like not to happen is that we come in and we congratulate you on the 10,000, and then a lot of time elapse on the remaining 23,000 meters. I would hope that when you come back to us in July, that you give us options that are available at that time to give us some ability to say, let's get the other, this is how we can fix the other 23,000. And the key for those for me would be that we are moving towards the integrated process to where you now are bringing in the first 7,000 and the most recent 10,000, and now how do you integrate them into the remaining 23? But I wouldn't like a lot of time to be delayed between you fixing the 10,000 and saying, we've got several months, now we'll come back and study and study and study. You know, I think one of the dilemmas is that you guys went through, a couple of years ago, a lot of study. You had 14 vendors in, and with all that stuff, I don't know how much more we can study this. There's only so much, it's a finite amount of equipment. We know the vendors, and so at some point in time, we just have to pull the trigger and say, go.
Thank you for that clarification, Councilmember, and we haven't really stopped, so the RFP is, a lot of work has gone into it, so I think we're in line as in the next few months some decisions are made. We don't have to start from scratch.
You're going to advise us that the RFP is not appropriate and we should go another direction. I'm just saying that decision should be as close to July reporting on your success as saying what we should be doing on the remaining 20-some thousand.
When we do report back, I assure you that we'll be ready. You won't have, if the direction for us to go and do an RFP for the remaining meters, then I assure you, you're not going to lose a lot of time. We would be ready to come soon with that.
Again, we want to make sure that as we move forward, that the whole integrated system becomes a reality.
Thank you.
All right. Please heed Mr. Parks. Stay right there because we have a couple of constituents.
Well, she have one of my deputies there, Mary Rodriguez. If you could call her first, just for a quick.
Mary Rodriguez, and then we have Dan, what is that, Schwartz? Schwartz. Yeah, pleasure. Mary.
Hi. Well, I'm talking.
Mary.
Hi.
Hi, Mary.
I'm Phil Deputy for Councilman Labange for the Los Feliz area, and I work with a lot of the businesses in the Los Feliz village. And we have had several complaints from businesses about the failed meters. They're claiming that they're failed because they fill up right away. The new meters just don't
Lot of
have enough
quarters.
space. They're filled up
Lot
right
of
away.
quarters.
And then they don't know what to do. I personally have a story, though, on New Year's, because there was a failed meter, and we called. We called in the city and reported the meter. We went
Good
to have
deputy.
dinner. We came back, and there was a ticket. And so, it's just very, very confusing for everybody.
Call in and get excused from the ticket? What happened with the ticket?
You just call and you just give the number. You just say, I'm at...
But you paid the ticket.
We haven't paid the ticket yet.
Okay.
And what did they say when you called in?
My husband called in from his cell phone. It was late at night, and there's just a recording, I guess, that you just...
Do me a big favor?
put it.
Would you get with Amir right after this and get the data to him, and he'll investigate it and find it?
I will get the data to him, yes.
And he'll hand you...
But,
Very good.
yeah. Mr. Swartz has some more. Address the chair, Mr. Swartz. That's okay.
My ticket is apparently going to be addressed, but it's because I came here and had a conversation with Mr. Sadati. I would like to think, well, first of all, I think we have a number of things we're looking at. One is there's a huge PR problem. I've been talking to the LA Weekly, to the LA Times, to the Los Feliz Ledger. Absolutely everybody is convinced that it's official policy that DOT gives tickets at failed meters. Now, Mr. Sadati said that's not the policy and they don't do it. Here we have evidence that, in fact, even when you call it in, they actually do it. So there's a PR problem. The public, including myself and all the local papers, believe something that Mr. Sadati says is not policy. Then we actually have this disconnect between policy and execution. And these are both problems, I think, within DOT. I would like to see a massive redesign of their website. And I would like to feel that, I pay for a lot of city services that I don't use. I pay for 8 trash pickups every 2 months. I use 2 of them. I pay my property taxes, but like Councilmember Labange, my daughter goes to private school. I would like to feel that this city is not trying to marginalize me into being a petty criminal in order to make money from me. And a huge population of this city thinks that that's what's going on here, that the city is trying to eke money from us here and there. I absolutely believe Mr. Sadati when he says that is not policy. I absolutely believe that's his intention. But nonetheless, this is what it feels like to people on the street. Anecdotally, since that's the operative word today, we all feel as if we are being marginalized into having to give up money here and there. I got a ticket having done the right thing. We put money in the meter, did not show any money. Here I am going through this whole process, and I'm just trying to, get along in this city. I think what Councilmember Labange said is right on, that we would like to feel that these people are on our side. They work for us. We would like to feel that, that they believe us. Some people are going to push the envelope a little bit. How expensive is that going to be compared to the hostility that's being created throughout the city?
I appreciate what you said. Thank you very much for that.
I used to write tickets at 65 and 66, and that was before the department was created, and it was a policy in LAPD that you didn't write failed meters, because just for the obvious reasons that people can't put money in a failed meter. But again, that's been at least almost a 50-year policy that I'm aware of.
It has not changed.
Yeah.
Well, I think what Mr. Swartz said is so true, is our public relations. And the issue is, too, there's a very important component of the city. It's our traffic officers. But there's got to be a balance. And as a councilman who represents an area of the city, I don't want to see us try to tag everybody just because we're focused on this. And I know you could tell them they could look around and look at the businesses and see if someone's walking to a car. Give people a hand. You got to try a little kindness, because that's a way that could work. So
I guess the time is limited, but can I just address that?
Yeah.
Because maybe the public don't know that, but we have so many bulletins and policies with our traffic officers, and if a constituent or a citizen demonstrates right there, if there happens to be a traffic officer that wrote the citation or is walking by, that this meter I parked in is not working, that citation is dismissed on the spot. On the spot.
May I respond?
Okay. And if I may finish, and I'll let you respond. And the other thing is, again, the pure large number of citations that are issued, as I mentioned, 550,000. So it does become a resource issue. I can't tell you that every single one of the 10,000 people that call the hotline have gotten through the process, but we have a process. And the ones that are on the meter hotline is open 9 to 5. Every single voice message is hand transcribed and then given to our meter techs. It's put into that complaint and investigation process. So because you call in the middle of the night and you reported a meter, doesn't mean it's not gone, it's gone through somewhere. It's a very, we just actually met with the president of the company that does the customer service part of the Parking Violations Bureau, because we wanted to assure that public, being nice, being professional, is a key policy for us. And so we're working towards improvements, and again, we have, for every 5 to 15 to whatever the number is out there that are legitimate concerns, there are thousands that prove not to be legitimate, because it comes back, we investigate, the findings are such that it doesn't justify their issue. So we have a balance. We have a very difficult job, and we get it. And the best we can, we'll improve our website, we'll improve our customer service. Any of you, which you send a lot of your complaints to me, that's fine. We'll take care of them, every single one of them.
Thank you. Appreciate
We will take care of
your work.
But I think you need to explain, taking care of it doesn't automatically mean the ticket disappears.
No.
That's what I think a lot of people think it means.
No.
A lot of people think we fix tickets too. Obviously we don't.
Let me see. Another council member that's no longer here was very popular in always calling me and asking me to counsel myself or the general manager. And I said there's two ways, either you pay for it or I pay for it.
Very good.
Right.
So those are the only two ways.
Thank you. We recommend receive and file this motion.
Well, I think we should forward to the council with the receipt.
Once it's received and filed, since you've had the report, then it'll go to council.
Yeah, it's information.
Yeah, and it gives another opportunity for people in the public especially to understand this and to get engaged in it. And I appreciate everybody's comments on this. We have one public comment card. Is there anything else on the agenda? Okay.
Want me to handle that for you?
The public comment card is Arnold Sachs.
Let me sit through this.
Janice Sachs went to Marshall
Thank you.
High.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank Councilman Koretz for his observation regarding the cab companies being on the somewhat involved in this exchange of monies. Just a quick question, though. When you were city councilman for West Hollywood and this cab company was operating in West Hollywood, was it a licensed cab company of L.A., and was it reported to the city of L.A. about... That's a failure right there. But question regarding the meters, real-time meter malfunctions, and Councilman Labange brought it up about the fact that the meters fill up with coins. Well, if they fill up with coins, they're not malfunctioning, they're just filled. So what's the percentage of the new meters? What's their breakdown percentage? What's their breakdown percentage that fill up with coins and no longer operate, but still aren't malfunctioning? Because a malfunction might mean it's not taking coins, or it's taking coins and not registering, something to that effect. But if it's filled with coins, it's really not an operational thing, it's a money problem. Is that a correctable item that would show up on this real-time meter report that LADOT would get? And do they go to those meters and check, to make them...
A legitimate question would be...
Good point. Please talk to him about that. Right now, I think he can give you an answer. At least I hope so.
Aware of the new technology. A lot of the new technology doesn't require a coin. People can use their credit card, so that's part of saving the meter.
Arnold, talk to him. Get that data.
The point was that it was filled with coins.
Okay. Adjourned. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all very much. Amir, talk to Arnold.